Let's talk about the magical quartz, magic with quartz.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So here you go. Take, if you've got a couple of fairly cheap quartz crystals and you don't mind scraping them up a little bit, here's the little thing you can do. Get a cheap pair of gloves. Take your two quartz crystals. Wait till nighttime. Has to be really dark to do this. The darker, the better. If you really want to make it spectacular, do it in your bathroom. Go into your bathroom. Hopefully, you got a bathtub in there. Fill your bathtub up with water, not all the way to the top, but partly to the top. Take those, put the gloves on. There's a reason why you wear gloves. Make sure all the lights are out and it's totally dark. And then put your arms into that bathtub, down into the water, one quartz crystal in each hand, and then just rub the two quartz crystals together as hard and as fast as you can. That's what you do. And what will happen is this. If you have large ones, and if you can do it fast enough and hard enough, you will light your bathroom up. And I know you're going, what? Yeah, you will light your bathroom up, and it's because of refraction. The light coming out, the balls of light that come out of your quartz crystals will light your bathroom up.
Now you have the quartz submerged in the water?
Yes, submerge it in the water, and that helps cause the refraction. You can do the same thing outside of the bathtub too. The reason you wear the gloves is because when you do this, you're going to get tiny little shards of the quartz breaking off, and you certainly don't want to cut your hands with it, and you don't want to get them stuck in your hands. So that's why you do that. And if you do them outside, if you do it outside, then you're going to get the little shards all over the floor or whatever. So be careful with that. But the balls of light you'll see, even if you do it on the outside, but it won't be as spectacular because you won't get the refraction in the water. So that is a little magic with it. Now, what some shaman used to do is they would be in a totally darkened room, and they would have a whole bunch of quartz crystals in a leather pouch, in a medicine bag. And the shaman would then, with his hands, grind those crystals together and break them, and little balls of light would come out of the leather pouch that they were grinding them with. Now, there's a lot to this, and it actually does. It goes back to the electromagnetic energy spectrum again, but there's actually research showing that these little balls of light, these little electromagnetic fields that you're creating by releasing electrons from the quartz crystals, change our consciousness and change brain chemistry. Huge amount of research done in Canada at Laurentian University by a now deceased psychologist by the name of Michael Persinger. Hundreds and hundreds of studies with it. Persinger is actually, at one time, he was a group of Christians began to boycott and protest outside Laurentian University because he had developed this device which became popularly known as the God machine. And you would put this helmet on your head and go into this room, which was acoustically closed off so you could hear nothing. And it also had copper shielding around it, so you'd have no external electromagnetic fields. And you'd sit in this room in total darkness and put this helmet on, and you might meet an angel. You might have a UFO abduction experience. You might see UFOs, and some people claim they met God, and that's how it became known as the God machine. He did a lot of research with it, and by changing the electromagnetic field's strength and by focusing it on certain areas of the brain, he could pretty consistently produce seeing a UFO. He could reproduce seeing beings, and in many cases, people seeing angels or something that they interpreted as God, meeting God. Lots of research on that started in the 1970s. Persinger died just a few years ago, and he probably did 300 or 400 published studies in psychology journals on it.
Astounding.
UFO people don't talk about it because what Persinger did in the lab looks a lot like what people are experiencing out in the real world.
Right.
And they think he's saying it's all in the head. And in a way, you could interpret what Persinger says is that, oh, these experiences are all in your head. But that's not precisely the only option there, that there's probably far more to it than that. So that's a bit of crystal magic. Crystals produce electromagnetic fields just like Persinger was doing, but they're naturalistic. They're totally naturalistic and coming out of the quartz crystal. Quartz, to Native Americans, again, remember, is the most condensed and refined form of spirit that exists, so they were magical to them. But quartz contains, there's a thing called the piezoelectric effect. And a quartz watch, for example, is generating its energy by squeezing a crystal. If you put pressure on a crystal, you produce electricity. Most people aren't really familiar with that, but you produce electricity by putting pressure on a crystal. How strange. That's believed to be what causes earthquake lights, that are lights that are seen along fault lines before an earthquake occurs, and sometimes during an earthquake it occurs. And it's believed that these are plasmas being formed through the piezoelectric effect. And plasma, of course, is a dirty word in UFOs. Andrew Collins wrote a book some years ago called Light Quest, and I wrote a big introduction to it that talked about all the research on plasmas in UFOs done in several places by physicists and others. So interesting stuff. And yeah, we're going all over the place here. I love it, though. That's good.
Absolutely fascinating. And we have reached the end of these 2 hours.